Today we're going to be looking at range and outliers. Our goal is to describe how the inclusion or exclusion of outliers affects the mean, median, mode, and range. We're also going to graph these visually. So how does an outlier affect mean, median, mode, and range of a data set? Well, first let's review. We have several vocabulary words that you'll probably need to pause this tutorial in order to copy down. The lower extreme is the least data in a value set. The upper extreme is the greatest value. In other words, the lower extreme is the smallest number. The upper extreme is the biggest number. The lower quartile is the median of the lower half of the data set. The upper quartile is the median of the upper half of a data set. And we'll look at an example of that pretty soon. The range, of course, is the difference between the upper and lower extremes. In other words, the highest number subtracted with the lowest number. The interquartile range is the difference between the upper and lower quartile. A box and whisker plot is a data display that divides the data set into 4 parts using the lower extreme, lower quartile, median, upper quartile, and upper extremes. An outlier is a value of a data set that is much greater or much lower than the other values. Go ahead and pause the tutorial to copy down your notes. So let's look at an example. Below are some prices for different types of watches on display at a store. We have one watch that is $50, another that is $375, $65, $95, $80, and $75. Let's calculate the mean, median, and mode and range of the data. Then we're going to identify an outlier. So here we have our lowest number. I'm going to first reorder these. We have 50. Then we have 65, 75, 80, 95, and 375. So I'll first start with the mean. So I'm going to add up 50 plus 65 plus 70 plus 80 plus 95 plus 375. And then I'm going to divide all of those numbers by 6 after I add them all together, which gives me 740 divided by 6, $123.33. That's my average watch price. So my mean is $123.33. Now I need my median, or the middle number. In this case, I have 2 numbers in the middle. So I add them together, 75 plus 80, and divide them by 2, which is $77.50. And then my mode, or most often, I have no mode because I have no one number that occurs more than any of the others. And finally, my range is going to be 375 minus 50, which is $325. So I've calculated all of these. Hopefully you've realized the outlier. There's a number that's much higher than the rest. My outlier is 375. Make sure you have all of this in your notes. So now what do we do with this data? Well, we're going to see how the outlier affects the mean, median, and mode, and then we're going to plot this on a box and whisker plot. So I have 50, 65, 75, 80, 95, and 375. So now I'm going to first look at my middle number. And again, I have 2 numbers in the middle, so I remember my median is 77.5, or 77.50 I'm going to put because we're dealing with money. Now I'm going to look at my extremes. So my lower extreme is 50. And my upper extreme, or my highest number, is 375. Now I'm going to look at my quartiles. My lower quartile is 65, so I'm just going to label that LQ for lower quartile, and my upper quartile, which is the number right in between. So basically you draw an imaginary box on each side, and then you look at your middle number for your lower quartile and your upper quartile. That's all it is. So I have those identified. Then I'm going to subtract the extremes to find the range, which I've already done. I have range is 325, and then my interquartile range, that's going to be the range of 95 and 65, or 30. So my interquartile range is 30. So when I look at my range, I can see that that's a pretty big difference as opposed to my interquartile range. Finally, I'm going to plot these on a box and whisker plot. So I have a number line started, and I know that I have a range of 325. So I'm going to be counting up pretty far. I'm definitely going to start my graph at 50. And then I'm going to go up by tens, but I'm not going to label every one. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. That way my graph looks a little neater. 100, 110, 20, and 130. Alright, so I've labeled my graph, and now I'm going to start with my whiskers. I'm going to start putting labels above everything. So above my graph, I'm going to look at 50, that's my lower extreme. Now my graph goes all the way up to 375. So I'm going to label that outside here just for room's sake. And I'll show you a digital graph of what that's going to look like later. So I have that. And then I can start by labeling, okay, well, what's my lower quartile? 65. So that's about here, halfway between 60 and 70. And my median is 77.5. So that is right about here. And then my upper quartile is 95, so again halfway between. And then my upper extreme is over here. So the N2 pieces are your whiskers. And then your box is your lower quartile and upper quartile. And then you just draw a line straight down your median. That is a box and whisker plot. Now it's your turn. Below are some prices of different types of watches. So you're going to actually look at the same exact problem that I just gave you. But you're going to redo the problem without the outlier. So you're going to calculate the mean, median, and mode and range of the data. So you're going to forget about the outlier. Then you're going to display your data on a box and whisker plot. Go ahead and pause the tutorial and re-examine all of those things. If you need to look back at the tutorial to see how to do any of the steps, now would be a good time to do that before practicing on your own. So in this lesson, we've created box and whisker plots. We've also examined how the inclusion or exclusion of an outlier affects our computations. Remember, an outlier can be a number that's a lot higher or lower than a data set. Another great job today.